Welcome back to What Are Noobs with General Disturbance. This is the UDES 16. It's a tier 9 Swedish medium tank. It's located on the south spawn of Overlord under the command of General Anonymous. Game on. Well, it's a tier 9 battle with tier 7 tanks in it. So he's top tier and he's got to put in a fair bit of effort. This is a rather unusual tank, part of the UDES project, the 14E2 project by Haglund's company. It's a 105mm armed medium with extremely sloped-back armour and a hydropneumatic suspension system capable of giving the vehicle extra gun depression of 5 degrees, or is it 7 degrees? I think it's 7 actually in total. And the object treble 7 is being a complete nuisance, because he wants to hold that corner, but he hasn't got the gun depression to use that corner effectively. Mind you, I suppose he only wanted that one quick shot on the AMX 1357. We did get spotted, and the treble 7's going elsewhere. Good job too. Being a bit of bully, trying to push us out of the way. Okay, the 105 is capable of 390 alpha. It's got standard penetration, I think if I remember correctly, 234mm with standard APCR and a very high shell velocity. You can see there, that shell zipped across the bowl and straight into the back chat 12 ton, but it got a low roll to 366. Now it's got premium rounds as well. The premium rounds are also 390, but 263mm. Only a little bit of extra penetration. Really hardly worth it really for the extra, only 30mm extra. And the HE rounds are capable of 480 alpha and penetrating 53mm, so if he does come across any tier 7 tanks, I think they're in for a right rollicking. Well, he managed to get a shell into the track of the Type 59. There he is. Couldn't get a follow-up shell. Now the gun does have good alpha and decent penetration, and the armour is sloped back at 70 degrees, which means there's a very good chance the enemy tank's going to ricochet a shell directly off the armour, because it's very difficult to penetrate armour when it's sloped back at that angle, especially with the extra armour that the angling gives you. Because it's got 70mm on the turret, 40 on the sides, 20 at the rear. On the body, it's only 45mm, 40 on the body and on the sides and 20 at the rear. But with that sloping back, it actually increases the thickness of the armour dramatically. So ricochets are very possible if an enemy aims directly at you. In fact, there's very few weak spots, except maybe the rear and the sides, that you can actually get because they're the flat areas. As you can see, he managed to get another shot into the MX 1357, and that's a high roll for 400. He's pushing here at the moment to try and get at the enemy. Oh, he's found a P43 Tur, tier 7 Italian medium, pumps around into him, 392, which is a high roll. But he's waiting here a second because the P43 Tur might have be waiting for him to pop up so he can try and put a round in. He could hit the lower plate, you see. Okay. I mean, he got a kill shot on the P43 Tur. He couldn't even see the outline, but the guy actually was hull down. But the computer wasn't showing it. Pumps around into the T28. Go for another one. Long reload. And he gets that one too, but it's a low roll for 364. The reason there's a long reload is because there's no dedicated loader in this tank. And he gets another one in, and that's a low roll as well. There's no dedicated loader, it's the gunner and the commander who both have to act as loader in this vehicle. It's technically an auto loader, but what they're doing is they're shoveling shells into a hopper, which is then fed into the breech as and when a shell is fired. So it loads like a standard tank, except of course there's no loader to actually push the shells in. It's all done automatically. Okay, well, we were getting a warning there to retreat, but that's the reason why Tiger P Pumps one round in, gets a low roll for 379. Tiger P's going to come up over the rise any second. Here he is. Go for the tracks. Yep, immobilizes him straight through the tracks. But he's used his repair kit to keep going. And he's pounced the round off us. That was an 88mm round. And the kill shot, yep, he gets it. And he's out the game. So 2 kills now for General Anonymous. P43 and the Tiger P. Well, there's still a fair number of enemy tanks there. I think the worst thing about this tank really is the low rate of fire and DPM. It's not that fast and it doesn't have much DPM, so it's a long slog to get those rounds into the enemy. Oh, VK. Well, he was right to pull back because that guy's got a 128mm gun. And he's a one-shot. We can get him. Oh, we ricocheted off him. He ricocheted off us. Okay. Let's see if we can get the kill. The M103's popped up. Don't want to explosion lower plate, but you get 7 degrees of extra gun depression with the hydropneumatic system. He kills the M103 and that's his 3rd kill of the game. Now where's that VK? Oh, he's already gone. And that is the end of the game. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was the 2nd class tank for General Anonymous in the UDES 16. He managed to get a sharpshooter badge for getting at 10 or more consecutive shots or hits on the enemy, as well as a fire effect for doing more damage than hit points for his own vehicle, a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he managed to get 8 in that one, as well as a high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game. Despite that terrible DPM and low rate of fire, he still managed to get it, and very well done. Let's have a look at the win 8. 5,991, which is Super Unicum standard. So let's have a look at team score and see where he was. Well, he was top of the table on damage, 4,115 hit points. Really helps having a 390 alpha because you can rack up quite a bit of damage fairly quickly if you've got a fast reload rate. Obviously he doesn't, but he took the opportunities at the right moment and he got them. The 2nd highest damage in the game turned out to be the Object Travel 7 version 2, who was actually a bit of a nuisance at the start, but he got a steel wall, so obviously he blocked the most damage in that game. And the 3rd highest damage was that VK4502B, who got 3,342 with that 128mm gun. When it came to kills, it was actually the Object Travel 7 version 2. He got 4 kills in that game. 3 kills went to General Anonymous, the LT432, and the VK4502B on the enemy team. And when it came to base XP, he's actually in 2nd place again because the Object Travel 7 version 2 got 1,099, whereas General Anonymous got 1,076. And the 3rd highest was the Liss, the Fox, who managed to get 999, so just 1 point under the 1,000 mark. General Anonymous fired 14 rounds and every round hit the target, so that's why he got that sharpshooter. He was getting very accurate shots. 12 penetrations as well, so only 2 shells actually missed, and 4,000, well, missed in terms of didn't actually dig through and pen through the target. 4,115 hit points of damage, all of it done at close range. 2 hits received from the enemy, and both of them were non-penetrations. They bounced off the armor because of that sloped arm is so strong. 710 hit points of damage blocked by armor. 1 enemy vehicle spotted, 8 enemy vehicles damaged, 3 killed, 292 hit points of damage resistance. He earned 57,725 credits to the game, got 40,000 for completing a mission, 97,725 credits altogether, and after ammunition resupply took away 59,645 credits profit. He also earned 1,614 experience points, got 3,228 for completing a mission, took away 4,842 experience points altogether. So let's have a look at this armor and see why it's so special. Well, here we've got the collision model up. I suppose we'll have a look at that first. you can see that the lower plate is actually sloped, but not so heavily sloped. It's actually only 60 millimeters of armor, but it's sloped back at 54.5 degrees, giving you 103. So fairly strong on the lower plate, but it is penetrable at tier 9. It's the upper plate that you really look at, and the turret, of course. 50 millimeters of impacted armor, but it's sloped back so heavily that most shells will just ricochet straight off, and the effective armor shoots upwards to around about 140 or just below 140 millimeters. So 50 millimeters, so heavily raked that it takes a lot to punch through. And the same is on the turret, 70 millimeters of armor, and with the raking it actually comes up to 200 millimeters overall. But it's the angle really that counts in this one, because you can see any shell coming in is more likely just going to go flying off up into the sky because it's coming in at the wrong angle. The gun's fairly high on the turret, you can see there, and effectively it's well, it's only sort of like pivoting point is way at the back. You've got the gunner on the left hand side, we've got the commander on the right hand side, and the driver up front on the right hand side as well. The gun can lift itself, so fairly good on elevation as well as on depression, because of course you get 12 degrees of gun depression thanks to that Hydro pneumatic suspension. Yep, it can actually kneel the tank and kneel it forward. So originally you get 5 degrees of gun depression, and then you get an extra 7 from the tank kneeling using the pneumatics, and that gives you 12 in total, which is very, very good. But there again, Swedish tanks do have very good gun depression anyway. You can see here from the live model, the area to aim for is the lower plate. That's really what you need to aim for. Either that or just near the viewports on the gunner's side and the cupola, what remains of it on the commander's side. But yes, it's the lower plate that's actually the vulnerable part of this tank. But if you're in gun depression and you're looking at the enemy, and if I get this right, yes, you're not going to be seeing the lower plate really, not much, but you will be looking at a very, very steep angle on that gun. And any shell you shoot in there, it's more than likely just going to go bouncing off into the future, into the into the distance. Anyway, that's the armor. Let's have a look at the modules. Well, we can see that the driver, he's in a reclined position on the right hand side. In front of the tank, you've got a fuel tank. Now, fuel can act as armor under certain circumstances. It actually stops the shockwave and also the heat rounds. If they do go in that way, they are going to stop the round. And of course, directly behind that fuel tank is the engine. So there's added armor there that actually prevents the crew from getting hit, because it's kind of blocking the way to them. I would say though that if you do get hit in the front on the lower plate and it does go into the engine, it's going to slow you down for a while, but obviously you can fix that. If we go further back, we can see that the gunner is on the left hand side, the commander is on the right hand side, he's got the radio as well, and remember they are both loaders. And there's the shells, you can see the ammo racks are right at the back of the tank. So if you want to hit and get an ammo rack, just aim for the back where the turret, where the gun meets the turret, so to speak, or comes out of the turret, and you're more than likely going to get an ammo rack from there. If you look at the rear of the tank, you can see no engine at the rear, just another big ammo rack directly underneath. So if you aim through the front, you get the fuel tank, and then you get the engine, and if you aim at the rear, you get the ammo rack. There's no ammo rack deep store inside the tank at all, so aiming directly through the front can be difficult to actually take out the crew because of that angling, but it is possible if you shoot down from above. Yes, you can penetrate this if the shells are coming directly down, because remember the armor is actually if we go back to the model again, and you can see that they're coming in from above, it's 50 millimeters of armor, so most Arty should still be able to penetrate because the shell's coming in at a better trajectory, better chance of hitting the target and penetrating it. So and of course if you're aiming for the armor at the rear, 40 millimeters of armor at the rear where that ammo rack is, so again very likely to pen in that area. If this thing angles, You're still going to get a ricochet from this area, but if it goes in through this direction, it's not only going to track it, but it could pen through the sides of the vehicle because it's only going to be 105 millimeters or thereabouts. So don't side scrape on this one, because it's more than likely you're going to take shells through the wrong spot and going to suffer. Angling doesn't really help you. You're better off actually being front on to the enemy and hull down and keeping that lower plate protected. This is not the only replay we've got for you today from General Anonymous. He sent us in another one, and we're going to get to that straight away. The second replay is in the Strv 103B, the Tier 10 Swedish tank destroyer on the south spawn of Siegfried Line. Okay, this tank is rather unusual because this was the first tank ever to have a turbine as its engine. Yep, the 103B had a Rolls-Royce Caterpillar, Rolls-Royce engine and a Caterpillar engine. I think it was actually the Rolls-Royce was the turbine. It may be the other way around, or is it the Caterpillar? Oh well, can't be absolutely sure, but what it does have is a 105mm gun capable of 390 alpha, and it will penetrate through 308mm with standard APCR, and with the premium APCR it does 350mm, so quite a lot of enemy tanks are likely to be suffering. But what's unique about these tanks are the fact that it's very flat armor because it's very heavily angled. Now I think he was trying to hit the enemy tanks that were just on that corner. Can't see them, but he can see what they're doing because they're knocking over trees. Now the armor on this tank is very, very well angled back, and again that will cause a lot of ricochets if a shell hits it. And the grating at the front of the tank is actually to stop heat rounds from ever contacting the tank. Okay, we can see an enemy there, the Object 140. He hasn't been hit yet, no damage to him. But again, he's dropped out of sight. It's only while he was moving that we could spot him. Now he's gone stationary, so a little more difficult to see. Now as you notice, it takes a few seconds for the siege mode to engage, and vice versa. So if you want to move about, you have to disengage siege mode. Now they only built 290 of these, and I believe that they still have most of them in stock, in reserve. One of them's at the Tank Museum at Arsenal, and the Tank Museum at Bollywood has one as well. Oh, now the Object 140 saw him and managed to get one in through the side of the vehicle. So he's now aiming at the T-55, but the Object 140 could see him. Now it may have been that he was obvious and they could see him just as he was moving about, but they've now lost sight of him and he's lost sight of them. Now they developed this tank during the 1950s, but it actually saw service between 1967 and 1997, so it's in service for 30 years, and eventually it was replaced by the Leopard 2. Ooh, E75 takes around. Didn't get that one in. Try again. He's trying to get the lower plate. Yep. High roll this time. That 105mm gun is very accurate. It is basically the L74, a rifled gun by Bofors. Normally fire one round every 3 seconds. He's blasting them away, and there's the kill shot. Now the hull armour is only 14mm, at the sides it's 30mm, and the same at the rear. So it is fairly thin armour, but as I said, it's very well angled, which means ricochets are possible if the shell hits from the front. And you'll see that on the armour profile. Trying to get a shot on that T-55, can't see him at the moment, so he's actually firing blind. I think he's in the bush a little bit closer, but he's trying to get the M48 pattern. firing a lot of standard ammo at long range blind. Now this tank is actually fully amphibious, which actually is quite an advantage. Sweden has loads of lakes. It's not obvious on the map, but it is once you actually see up close. Sweden has a huge number of lakes and rivers, and so you need to have an amphibious tank to be able to cross those rivers, and that requires constant maintenance to ensure that the vehicle is ready to go across those rivers. You can't just have a tank that's amphibious and not maintain it, because if you don't, the moment you go into the water, something is not going to be amphibious and it's just going to leak and the thing's going to sink. Okay, the T-55 suddenly come into sight again. Is he going to back away? No, he's going the other side. Yep, nice hit. Low roll though. Go again. Yep, another pen. Just slicing through the armor on that T-55A. Well, this game is fairly slow for a tier 10 game with tier 9 tanks in it. I must admit, I didn't expect it would be this slow. Oh, yes, good shot. High roll as well. 393. He has lost a fair bit of damage, so it might be that he did get some of those blind shots on target. He's trying to use the gun depression to help. Got 12 degrees of gun depression thanks to the pneumatic suspension. Gets another hit. Go for it again if he can. No. So we've got the Object 140 and the T-55A, both behind that bunker at the moment. Firing blind at the Type 61. The original concept for this tank came up in 1956 by Sven Berge, and he proposed an alternative S, or S being Swedish, where it was actually to be quite a low tank, about the height of a human. Very, very small, very difficult to spot, but very good in defense, because you don't see the tank until it's too late and you're actually being fired upon. So it's a good ambush tank, and basically Sweden having a very defensive policy that suited them fine. Okay, well, he's going for the Char Future 4. And another one. And unfortunately we just lost our standard B, but there goes the Char Future 4. First kill. Go for the C-55A. Got a hit, but the M48 Patton managed to put a 105mm round into us. Can we get another shot? The shells are so quick with this tank. 1,500 meters per second. So what it's basically point and shoot. Go for the rear. Trying to find the solution. Oh, that ricocheted off the engine deck. Been spotted again. The enemy is shooting at us. I just saw the ground kick up in front of us to our left. And yeah, he did get hit. That T-55A just hit us. We're bouncing rounds. Oh, and another hit from the M48 Patton. And the driver got hurt this time. He's trying to change position without getting hit. And he now bounced another round from the Object 140, hiding behind that wreck. He must feel a bit vulnerable. Just need to get the right position so that tree's blocking us from one side whilst we're shooting from the other. Okay, he's gone to the siege mode, changing his position. should be about right. Okay, now he's got a potential shot. Oh, the kill shot actually went to the Strv 4 on our team. And now we can get hits on the T55A and the M48 pattern. The scores are even now. He's racked up 4,612 hit points of damage with that gun. But he's down to just 5 premium APCR and 3 HE rounds. So he's blown a huge amount of the ammunition. He has to make it count. Oh, a lovely kill. The T55A goes down. There's the other T55A. Trying to get the pattern. Unfortunately, that one missed the top. It's almost like he's tempting us to shoot. No, that one hit the ground, I think, just in front of him. Oh, the E50M just took a hit. Now, let's see if we can get a shot. If he pops up. Yes! And he's got another kill. 3 now. It's up to over 5k of damage. Tempting that M48 to pop up. We're now 1 up on the enemy thanks to General Anonymous. Right. That M48 is going to have to come up because the E50M's going down to dig him out. And he's just got a hit. He's coming out into view. Oh, tried the cupola. He's out of armor piercing rounds. Now he's got to rely on HE. But the pattern's gone. The E50M got him. Now the enemy's got a Kunstpanzer who's up near our cap area. And 3 heavies are in the town. They've just lost one of them. So the best thing that the General Anonymous can do right now is go in and protect the cap area from the enemy Kunz. And our Kunstpanzer just got a big hit on the enemy. So 1 shot. HE round would easily dig him out. Only 2 enemies left now. The 50 TP and the Kunstpanzer. And there's the kill shot on the Kunstpanzer, which means the 50 TP is all we've got left to handle. He's carried a huge amount of weight with that 5,000 hit points. He stopped the enemy moving in through the field. They just couldn't come in. It was blocking them. Every time they tried to make a move, he put a round into them. The 50 TP's running from our 705. He's moved to the corner here just because... Oh, and before he can get into town, the kill shot comes in that wins the game. So unfortunately, he misses out on the chance of getting any more hit points. Here's the end of battle stats, and it was a 2nd class mastery for General Anonymous in the Strv 103B. He managed to get a fire effect for doing more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle, and a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In this one, he managed to get 11. And despite the fact that he got a win rate of 5,069, he didn't get a high caliber, and you'll see why momentarily. Yeah, he did get the highest damage, 5,102, but it wasn't 20% of the enemy hit pool, and that's why he misses out on getting that high caliber. The 2nd highest damage in the game was the M48 pattern that he was firing at a lot of the time. He got 3,864 hit points. And the 3rd highest damage was the 50 TP with 3,367. When it came to kills, he shared the top spot with the Object 705A. He got 3 kills, and so did General Anonymous. And 2 kills went to the Type 5 Heavy, the Strv 4, and only 1 member of the enemy team managed to get more than 1 kill, and that was their 50 TP. When it came to base XP, it was the 705 who did the best. He got 1,029, and General Anonymous got 930, and the Strv 4 got 920. Let's have a look at detail. 47 shots fired. He only had 2 rounds left at the end of the game, and they were both HE. 18 direct hits on the enemy, 15 penetrations. I suppose you could say that that was the reason why such a low number of direct hits was he was blind firing a lot during that battle. And some of those shots probably did actually hit the target, although probably not all of them. If we could check the M48 pattern, he only shows one penetration. So the shots on the M48 didn't work. And when it came to the 255A, well, he got 3 on that one, and he got 2 on the other one. So I think a lot of those blind shots failed to ever hit the target. So maybe he actually stopped himself from getting more damage, because if he'd actually waited for the moment that the target was visible and then fired, chances are he would have made more profit, but he also would have had more shells available to do more damage when they did come into sight. 5,102 hit points of damage, all of it at more than 300 meters. So you can see he was being a long-range sniper. 8 hits received from the enemy, only 4 of which actually penetrated, 4 non-penetrations, and 640 hit points of damage blocked by armor. He damaged 7 of the enemy, killed 3, did 257 hit points of damage assistance. On a free-to-play account, he earned 35,252 credits, and after repair, ammunition, resupply and consumables, and yes, he did fire all of his APCR and his premium, he ended up with a loss of 62,917 credits for the game, 7 bonds for this being a tier 10, and 930 base XP times 2 for the first victory, 1,860 experience points altogether. I suppose it actually bodes well, the fact that he is getting the highest damage, and he's doing it the right way because he's acting as a long-range sniper, which makes it very difficult for the enemy to get pens. They did actually get pens because they shot through the sides, and you'll see that in the armor profile now. If you look at this vehicle from the front, you say, well, those big grates actually do stop shells. They stop heat rounds for certain, but it's only when you actually look at the live model you realise there's virtually no weak spots on this vehicle from the front. If you're looking at it from the front, you're not going to get through unless you can put a round in here at a very narrow spot on the cupola. 20 millimeters, you're only getting effective 26, but you can see the reason why. It's angled so highly, 74.2 degrees, that 40 millimeters of armor actually becomes much, much higher, 126. And with that angle, it's more likely going to ricochet straight off the front of the vehicle. So you're not easily going to penetrate this vehicle from the front. You can penetrate it from the sides though. 30 millimeters of armor, flat armor at that point, is penetrable, and you can even penetrate through the drive wheels. So yeah, not a good idea to go get shot from the side in this vehicle, especially not in the rear, because of course if you do get shot in the rear, it's going to go straight through because it's only effective 38 millimeters, so very, very easily to pen. Let's have a look at the modules. Well, you can see it's all engine up front with the fuel tank right in the front, because of course fuel tanks can act as armor under certain circumstances. And then we've got the engine with the hydropneumatic suspension system, which is used for aiming. The gun's fixed in place. They have to move the vehicle, the suspension about, to actually aim at a target. We've got the driver on the right hand side. We've got the tank commander, who's also a loader, on the left hand side. And we've got the radio operator there as well. He's also acting, I believe, as a loader. The ammo rack is on the right hand side there, and also on the left hand side. And so yes, the modules are kind of weird. It's with the almost with the fuel tank and the engine up front to act as a barrier against hitting the crew. But of course, this tank is supposed to drive backwards almost as fast as it goes forward. It goes 50 miles per hour, 50 kilometers an hour forwards, and only 45 kilometers an hour backwards. And the driver can actually drive either way because he's got viewports to the front and to the rear. So he can go very, very quickly in reverse, as this is supposed to be a defensive tank, a tank that actually moves from spot to spot, killing the enemy as they try and advance towards it, and just moving further back away from the enemy to another killing zone. So yes, quite an interesting tank. Well, the armor's very thin, but it's very difficult to kill these things unless you can hit them from the side. So I hope you enjoyed both those replays. If you did, please give this video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.